Hello, Shalom. I could be able to make this video to get some edification for the nation of Israel, because there's a teaching out there saying that you are only who your father is. Well, as you can see from the title of this video, mixed breeds are not Hebrew Israelites. I'm gonna go in the Bible and I'm gonna prove to you that mulattoes are anyone who is mixed breed are not Hebrew Israelites according to the Holy Scriptures. Okay? That according to the Holy Scriptures, to be considered a Hebrew Israelite, both your father and your mother, in the eyes of both your father and your mother, biologically and through the eyes of the Most High, to identify that you are a Hebrew Israelite. So I'm gonna start with the law. The first thing first, let's start with the law. We're gonna go to Deuteronomy. I'm gonna go to the 7th chapter. And we're gonna go to verse 3. Okay. Oh yeah, I got some pens and pencils. Also, to get some clarity, on my Christ in the Old Testament video, I said that the word virgin in there, Isaiah 7:14, which is the precept of Isaiah 8:8, and also the prophecy of Christ coming. I said Hezekiah was coming, with the prophecy of Hezekiah coming. That was a slip of the tongue. I didn't mean to say that. What I meant to say, it was a prophecy of Isaiah's son coming named Mahashalah-Shabazz. You can read that in Isaiah 8:8. It was a mistake I made. But his name was Mahashalah-Shabazz. You can read that in Isaiah 8 chapter, okay? So it was a mistake I made in that video. If someone whoever watches that video and watches this now, it's Mahashalah-Shabazz, not Hezekiah. I did not mean to say that, okay? So I'm going to go back to Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, and we'll go to verse 3. This is Deuteronomy 7:3. Neither shall thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shall thou not give unto his son, nor his daughter shall thou take unto thy son. Listen to this. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods, so the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. Now there is a law set in stone by the Most High Yah to make sure that the nation of Israel are not to be race mixing. We are to not mix with any other nation on the planet. Okay? Period. Now I know a lot of people like to use what was that? I think later in the book of Deuteronomy, where he gave certain nations of people. Well, according to the Holy Scriptures in Deuteronomy 7:3, the law, we are to not mix race. Period. Period. And no any other nation but your own kind. Okay? So I'm going to so let's get more precepts. We can't just stop right there, because then most people want to use, okay, was Ruth then Ruth was in Israel, was Ruth a Moabite? Was Ammon a Moabite? Listen, understand this. You have to know the history of Ruth, and you also have to know the history of the Moabites and the Ammonites. You can read that in Numbers, the 21st chapter, and then read that in Deuteronomy, the 3rd chapter. Okay? You'll understand that the Moabites and the Ammonites were wiped out of that land when the Israelites was coming through. Ruth was just named after that landmass. That does not mean she was a natural born Moabite. Just because it says Ruth the Moabitess does not make her a Moabite. Just the same as Elijah the Tishbite. He was an Israelite, but that does not mean he was just a different nation of man. Remember what the Most High says, Psalms 147:19. Let's get that first. Let's get Psalms 147:19. It's a thing that a lot of us keep forgetting. Okay? There's a lot of us that keep forgetting. Let's get Psalms 147:19. We have to go back to the old drawing board every time. This is Psalms All right, this is Psalms 147. I'm trying to go as slow as I can so people can keep up. Psalms 147:19. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He had not done so with any nation. As for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. See that? He only gave his words to the nation of Israel. Now your Gentiles will have to listen to the word too. But if Ruth was a natural born Hebrew, and this is after the law was given to Moses, was given to the Israelites when Moses gave it to him on Mount Sinai. If Ruth was a natural born Hebrew, why would he let that marriage between Boaz and her happen? Now, I know Moses had an Ethiopian wife. That was before the law was set in. Understand this. That was before the law was set in, and he made special circumstances for certain things. That was before the law was set in. That's why he had an Ethiopian wife. Just like Joseph had an Egyptian wife. Because Joseph was in an area where there was a lack of Hebrews to choose from, so he most high let him deal with an Egyptian wife. The only person he really punished severely was King Solomon and Judah, one of Jacob's sons, because he took a Canaanite wife. And he was punished severely for that. Understand that. So, now we got that clarity. Now that we got that clarity of that makes the law of when it was set and when it was made. Now you got that clarity. Let's go ahead and get some more precepts of Deuteronomy 7 and 3rd chapter. Let's go to the Apocrypha. And we'll go to Tobit. We'll go to Tobit, the 4th chapter. And we'll go to verse 12. This is Tobit 4 and 12. Beware of whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe, for we are the children of the prophets, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they are all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. What I just read right there, Tobit 4 and 12 just confirmed that the Hebrew woman plays an important role in the nation of Israel. To be considered Hebrew, you have to have your mother who counts. I just read that in Tobit the 4th chapter. See, this is what happens when you keep listening to these One West camps. Turn them off. They're not reading these scriptures. They're misinterpreting numbers. That numbers one. I'll go and tell you what numbers the 1st chapter was talking about. But they're misinterpreting and teaching false doctrines that you are only who your father is. If that was the case, let's get the scriptures about something about sin. Let's get a scripture about just sin in general. Let's go to Romans the 4th chapter. We'll go to Romans the 4th chapter, and we'll go to verse 8. This is Romans 4 and 8. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin. You heard that? Let me read it again. Romans 4 and 8. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin. A short scripture, a huge message. The Most High will not bless sin. He's not going to bless that. And let's just use common sense. If the Most High says we are to not mix our seeds together with heathens, and King Solomon so-called had an Ammonite wife, if she was an ethnic bloodline Ammonite, and Rehoboam was the son of that marriage, why in the hell will the Most High bless him, Rehoboam, to become the king of the king of the nation of Israel? Let's just use common sense. Why would he do that? Remember, Malachi 3 and 5, the Most High does not change his mind, nor he changes ways. This is common sense. Why would he do that? If Rehoboam was an ethnic Hebrew Israelite, but who just had a heathen wife. The Most High, just in the Holy Scriptures right here, it just says, "Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin." Mixed race mixing is a sin, and is also considered an abomination worthy of death. You can read that in the book of Joshua. It was worthy of death because it's treason, and it's treason against your own people when you mix your seeds, and that's a huge problem of why we're in the condition that we're in, because we keep race mixing. All right. Now I just gave you, hopefully I gave you edification on that knowledge of why we should not supposed to be doing that, and why, because of our race mixing. Let's see, even in ancient times, let's get some ancient scriptures of what happened when we was mixing. We're going to the prophet Ezra. I'm going to the 9th chapter. And we're going to verse 1. This is also repeated in First Ezra, the 8th chapter. You can read that in too, but we're going to stick with the Old Testament right now. This is Ezra 9 and 1, EZRA. Now, when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, "The people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the land, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken up their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yet the heart of the princes and the rulers hath been chief in his trespass." See? Ezra just confirmed what I was just saying, that race mixing is an abomination. In the eyes of the Most High, that is an abomination. When you race mix for heathens, we are not supposed to be doing that. It is an abomination. But you have these one West camps are running around telling you the Hispanics are Hebrew Israelites, and a lot of them have heathen wives, and they're telling you that it's okay to race mix with them. That is not of the Most High God, and they don't fit the prophecy, and they're not Hebrew Israelites. They are from the children of Japheth. They are not Hebrew Israelites. I promise you I'll make a video on that. When the time comes, I will make a video on Hispanics not being Hebrew Israelites. But I'm going to focus on this very huge topic that's been going on in our community, that nobody cannot come to a complete agreement that mixed breeds are not Hebrew Israelites, or mixed breeds are Hebrew Israelites. It just goes by the seed. That is false doctrine. Ezra is confirming right now that when back then in ancient times, the men and the women of the nation of Israel who was mingling with heathens, they were messing up the holy seed. And the prophet Ezra even called it an abomination. So let me keep reading. And when I'm starting from the 3rd verse. "And when I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle, and plucked off the hair of my head and of my beard, and sat down astonished." Verse 4. "Then were assembled unto me everyone that trembled at the words of the God of Israel, because of the transgression of those that had been carried away, and I sat astonished until the evening sacrifice." See, because of that abomination, even poor old prophet Ezra was ripping his own hair and beard out, because he couldn't stand the sight that he was seeing, that his people was mingling seeds today. Just like I can't stand the sight of my people mingling seeds today. It's because of that. That's why we're in the condition that we're in. Now I know a lot of them don't have no better, but common sense and through history you would know, why would you want to mingle seeds with people who keep killing you over and over again? Alright, let me go to the next chapter. We're going to go to Ezra, the 10th chapter, verse 1. This is Ezra 10 and 1, the next chapter. Now when Ezra had prayed, and when he had confessed, weeping and casting himself down before the house of God, they assembled unto him out of Israel a very great congregation of men and women and children, for the people wept very sore. And when Shechaniah the son of Jehiel, one of the sons of Elam, answered and said unto Ezra, We have trespassed against our God, and have taken strange wives of the people of the land. Yet now there is hope in Israel concerning this thing. Now therefore let us make a covenant with our God, to put away all the wives, and such as are born of them, according to the counsel of my Lord, and those that tremble at the commandment of our God, and let it be done according to the law. He just continued. Ezra just continued to confirm it. That when you're supposed to put away your strange husbands and your strange wives. Even the children that you begot of them, you're supposed to put them away. So that right there, about that descendants of mixed races, the descendants, they are not considered Hebrews. They are strangers. Okay? They are not Hebrews. In the eyes of the Most High, they're not Hebrews. They are strangers. When a Hebrew and a heathen mix together, they become strangers, mamzeers. They become mamzeers. They're not Hebrew Israelites in the eyes of the Most High. They are an abomination in His eyes. And I don't care who gets offended by what I'm saying. I'm reading straight out of the Bible what the Most High has put in here. When the prophets were taken by the Spirit of the Most High, who was inspired by Him to write in His book. I'm going to read what it says in here. Mixed breeds are an abomination. Understand this. So I'm going to go ahead and look up mamzer. Okay, but first, actually, I'll go to Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter, and verse 1. This is Deuteronomy 23:1. He that is wounded in the stones or hath his privy member cut off shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Verse 2. A bastard shall not enter into the congregations of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. The Bible says a bastard shall not enter into the congregations of the Lord. What is a bastard? What does the Bible consider a bastard? Well, let's look in Strong's Concordance, or you look in Zendervan. If I'm going to use Strong's. Now, Strong's Concordance, it will help, it lines up, with words and scriptures of the Hebrew and Greek language, but Strong's Concordance is not a way to learn Hebrew and language. So a lot of you brothers and sisters running around thinking you don't know the real Hebrew language. The Most High has not given us His spirit or His language to know Hebrew. Strong's Concordance is not a way to learn Hebrew. Understand that. So I'm going to go to Strong's Concordance and look up bastard. Mamzer, a bastard, child of incest, legitimate birth, mongrel race, one of legitimate birth. Here it is. Bastard. From an unused root meaning to alienate. A mongrel, born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother. Bastard. Mixed racing. Someone who race mix, and they're not of certain nations that the Most High has said. You keep reading them later in Deuteronomy 23rd. Actually, I'll go ahead and go down right now. This is Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter, verse 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in this land. Remember, I touched that subject in my last video, Edomite / the wicked. You go watch what that scripture was really talking about. But I'm going to keep reading. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregations of the Lord in their 3rd generation. So and let's use this analogy. I'm just going to start from my generation. If your great-grandfather or your great-grandmother, if one of them was an Edomite, or a Hamite. That means from your grandparents, that's one generation right there. From your grandparents, that's one generation. That means from that one generation, they will have to mix right back into with a Negro. That's one generation. And then the second generation, that is your parents. They still will have to consider taking Negroes. That's two generations. And then into the third generation will be my generation. That's when you come back into the fold. 3 generations to come back into the nation of Israel. Now I know that's a huge problem with us because a lot of us can't trace our lineage. I understand that. That's where faith will have to come in. That I can't really help you on. But that's where faith will have to come in. I know my lineage. I come from a long list of Negroes on my father's and my mother's side. I know my lineage. So that's where you may have to do a DNA test, or you'll have to find out your family lineage. That I can't help you on. I'm going to go on about what the Most High has put in His book. 3 generations of a Hebrew father and Hebrew mother to be considered a pure-blooded Hebrew Israelite. Okay? So I'm going to jump back up to that Deuteronomy 23:3. Going back to the Ammonite and Moabite. It's just this. Deuteronomy 23:3. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregations of the Lord. Even to the 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregations of the Lord forever. So an Ammonite or a Moabite, if they are an Ammonite Moabite, they are not allowed into the congregation of the Lord. If you're Ammonite Moabite, you're not allowed in His congregations at all forever. Point blank period. Why? Because they put a spell on us, and that they're descendants of incest. You can read Genesis the 19th chapter about that. That is why they're not allowed into congregations. So that whole Ruth was an Israelite, Moabite thing is false. Ruth was a pure-blooded Israelite who just happens to live in the land of Moab. Now I'm going to go to Matthew's, the 1st chapter. Let me see if I can count let me count the generations from Abraham to Ruth. Let's see, I'm going to do that. This is Matthew's 1:1. The book of the generations of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judas and his brethren. And Judas begat Pharez, and Zerah, and Tamar, and Pharaoh begat Israel, and Israel begat Aaron. And Aaron begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Naasson, and Naasson begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz of Akkad, and Boaz of Akkad begat Obed of Ruth. Obed of Ruth. And Obed begat Jesse. Begat Jesse. See? So now, the lineage of Christ confirms that the descendants of Obed and Ruth, Boaz and Ruth, when they intermingled, they came out a lineage of, what's his name? Not his name. Obed. Yeah, Obed is the son of Boaz and Ruth. Understand it. So let me count the generations. I'm trying to count them. Give me 1 second. So, book, son of Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So it took 9 generations. It took 9 generations until they reach the Boaz and Ruth. Now understand this: if Ruth was a heathen and was a Moabite, and Obed was the descendant of it, Obed would be the father of Jesse. Obed would be the father of Jesse. And Jesse is the father of King David. So in essence, if Ruth was a heathen, David would not be considered a Hebrew Israelite. So that's false right there, that Ruth was a Moabite. That's false doctrine right there. She was a pure-blooded Hebrew. That's already false, man. That's already false. The lineage is right here. You can just read the lineage for yourself. If Ruth was a heathen, a pure-blooded Moabite, that means Jesse would not have been a Hebrew, King David would not have been a Hebrew, And all the descendants up till maybe, I think, Jeconiah's, they would not have been Hebrews at all in the eyes of the Most High. That means they would have deleted the whole Old Testament right there. If they were Hebrews. If they were not Hebrews. So that cuts that doctrine already. Just by that lineage. Understand this. So let me go to Hebrews. So let's go to Hebrews, the 7th chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and probably end the video right here. This was a short little video, short little topic that I wanted to go to. Let's go to Hebrews 7:3. This is Hebrews 7:3. Without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made life unto the Son of God, abideth a priest continually. See, without a father and without your mother, and without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of, but made life unto the Son of God, albeit a priest continually. See, your mother has always been required. I'm telling you, I gotta turn off these One West doctrines. Turn off these One West videos. It's all false. You are only who your father is. That is false doctrines, man. False teachings. Turn them off. I'm gonna go back to the Apocrypha to even confirm this. To confirm that both your father and your mother has to be Hebrew. I'm gonna go back. This is Sirach. If we go to the book of Sirach, if we go to the 7th chapter, and we go to verse 28. This is Sirach 7:28. Remember that thou wast begotten of them, and how canst thou recompense them the things that they have done for thee? How do you remember your own father and mother who gave birth to you? You always got to remember, Most High Christ has told you, love thy father and honor thy mother. Always. Both. Not one over the other. You cannot find nowhere in the scriptures where the man had better treatment over the woman, had better special circumstances over the woman. The law was given equally to the man and the woman. Every scripture you find that pertains to the man, you will find the exact same scripture that pertains to the woman of the nation of Israel. Always. The law was given equally to both the man and the woman of the nation of Israel. Not one over the other. So let me go ahead and Numbers, the 1st chapter. The scripture that they just always use to try to confirm that as long as if a man mixes with a heathen, does not matter in the eyes of the Most High, they still be considered Hebrews. That is false. Because I just read all those scriptures to prove to you not that is false. This is Numbers 1:8. And they assembled all the congregations together on the 1st day of the 2nd month. And they declared the pedigrees after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward by that point. Let's get some precepts. Let's get Numbers 1:3. Numbers 1:3. From 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel, thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies. And with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one head of the house of his fathers. That's what that chapter was talking about. It was talking about the men who was getting prepared for war. It was not going only by your lineage going through the father. No, it does not. Now I know a lot of scriptures will say, Adam begat Seth, Seth begot, Adam begat Seth, Seth begot Enoch. I know all those. Those goes by the most of the prophets. Most of the people that the Most High has chosen who thought who be righteous as his prophet were men. That's why it was set up like that. The long lineages, even through the lineage of Christ, is nothing but men. Those will be his prophets. That is why it is like that. The men are mostly the prophets of the nation of Israel. You can read through the book yourself, with the exception of Ruth. With the section of Ruth, and I know there's some more prophetess in the Holy Scriptures, but mostly the Most High dealt with men as his prophets. That's why you see long lineages of nothing but men. But the Holy Scriptures, to be considered a Hebrew, Your father and your mother has to be Hebrew Israelites to be considered in the eyes of the Most High Hebrew Israelites. So that's it on this topic. Hopefully I got some spiritual gave some spiritual edification to some folks out there and some clarity on things. And shalom.